Welcome back to Season 4, Episode 5 of Teed Up, where everyone's a sports expert.
A podcast that makes you care about sports, including President Connolly.
We're an original podcast created and produced by Long Beach State student-run newspaper, The Long Beach Current. Thank you, everyone, for being here and tuning in. Today, we have an extremely special guest, three-time AVCA National Coach of the Year, a member of all three men's national championship teams at Long Beach State, twice as a head coach and once as a player, current men's volleyball head coach, Alan Knipe. Thank you for being here.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
So we'll go back to last year a little. You guys go 27-3, season comes to an end. You guys make a great run to the national championship game, comes to an end on your home floor. What's this offseason been like? How long does a loss for you sort of linger? Are you quick to turn the page to the next day, or does it kind of sit with you for a few days after something like that?
Yeah, I don't think it's a few days. I think it sits with you a little longer than that. It's all sports. The margins are so thin, so when you don't succeed in that last game the way you wanted to play out for yourself and your team, I think it's only natural to kind of pick it apart a little bit and figure out where you could have got a different point here or there, or how you could have done a little bit better for your team and the guys that are out there battling. So, it sits with you. It still sits with me. It motivates you. It motivates you in the off season for preparation. It motivates you in recruiting. And I think, for me, it never really goes away. But then again, even after winning national championships, it doesn't take too long for me to start thinking, how are we going to do this again?
Mm-hmm.
As like a coach, but then also as a father, how quickly did it also come to you that it was your last time getting to coach Aiden?
Yeah, I've had that question a lot, and I really think that it didn't really hit me at all. I wasn't super nostalgic through like the championships or even in the finals, and I think he was so locked in, the team was so locked in, I was so locked in. Once the game starts, you don't really start to think. You don't really think much about that stuff. I don't know. I think it was. I think it hit me a little bit in the press conference when the press started asking him questions, and he was getting a little emotional with it. As far as like any senior, not just because he was my son, that it's the conclusion of a lot of hard work. So, the press conference was when it kind of hit me, and it unfortunately, doing this as long as I've done it, I knew that even with my own son that it was going to time out. So it wasn't a shock. And I've been really close with other players and teams that you go through that emotion. So I was a little bit probably better prepared than a lot of guys that what that was going to feel like that night. But yeah, it was hard, and but I'm proud of him. I'm proud of what he did. I'm proud of what the team did. And I'm proud that he's moved on to the next chapter of his life. And
with that being said, what was it kind of just like the challenges, I guess, and questions when you pull a huddle and it's just you and Aiden, right? Yeah. People looking at you, a coach and your son.
Sure.
Just how did you kind of handle that?
Yeah, I don't really care what people's perception is of what's going on in our huddles. There wasn't a whole lot of times really that it was just Aiden and I talking. I set up my staff very similar to a football staff, where I'm the head coach and I have a defense and an offensive coordinator. And so Nick McRae is our offensive coordinator. So Aiden spent more time at timeouts with Nick than he did with me. And I spent more time talking throughout the match while it was going on with Nick about what I would like to see or what I'm seeing, or listening to his thoughts. But usually the information going through Aiden was coming from Nick and not necessarily me. And that wasn't something I set up for my son. That's the way I've always set up my teams. And I think it just worked also really, really well that there was a layer there. And it was a coach that wasn't his dad, in the weeds with him in practice, and in the weeds with him in matches. And I got to coach him from that 70,000 foot view, like I coach everybody.
Being a coach for over 20 years, I feel like you got to be a type of person that kind of thrives with adversity, or just you got to kind of come with the punches and get excited with new challenges. You guys had a lot of graduating seniors, including Mason Briggs, Aiden. Simon Clark and Nathan Harlan. How do you kind of expect to go about this year? Who are some guys that you're seeing just in the early stages that can be big contributors with those departures?
Yeah, college sports are really unique with that. Like if you were just looking at it on averages, you lose about 25% of your team every year. So you start to get pretty used to this, the departures of some guys. Where it becomes tough is when those guys have played a lot. It's not just that they're talented, they've played a lot. So their volleyball IQ is incredibly high. Their system IQ is very high. The way they interact within our culture, within our volleyball team, they're almost like extensions of the coaching staff with the players. So when you lose a lot of those type of guys in 1 year, there's a void to fill. The good thing for us is we're going to fill that void, and there's no way to fast track all the knowledge and the IQ right away. But the nice thing that we're filling it with a lot of very, very talented players. So if you're going to fill it and you can't do much about the experience, it's nice to fill it with a whole bunch of size and a whole bunch of talent. So we're excited about it. I think that some of the returners that we have with Sartorius and with Skylar Varga, I think Dieris McRaven had a great year, and Lazar Buchkov, had a great freshman season. Sebasani was a guy who played a little bit for us in the final, had a great freshman year. And then we have, Connor Bloom and Dane Hillis, and we have Ben Braw in the middle. So we're pretty excited about a lot of the guys. I know I'm leaving some guys out, like, Nato Dickinson and Island Doty, some really talented guys that have been in our gym, been training with this group for at least a year, if not two. And then you add in a very, very good recruiting class. And I think that you go through these cycles as a coach that you get reinvigorated about. This is a whole new chapter again for, Long Beach State men's volleyball. And where do we go now? Yes, we've done X, Y, and Z, but where do we go with just the 25 version of this team? And what does it look like when the nucleus of this team plays in 25, 26, 27? How good can they be? And I think that if you're honest with yourself as a coach, you look back at a lot of the things you've done, and hopefully you don't look just back at the good and tell yourself how great you are. That's not a good way to get better. But you look back and take in a really good inventory, the lessons learned. If I could do this block again with this, whether it's, the Taylor Crabb group or the TJ DeFalco, Josh Tuaniga group, or the Aiden Knipe, Mason Briggs, Simon Torrey group, and now this group, like, if you could do it again with those, what would you do differently? And how can I put all those together with this group and get even better than we've been in the past? That's the way my staff and I try to go after it.
One of those departures that's closer to our hearts, I kind of want to talk to you about Manny Barrera, being around the program last year, his charisma, personality, really close with the Briggs family, the Bloom family. Just what was it like seeing him? Always supporting you guys there.
Yeah, Manny was a big part of what we did. And, like a lot of people who get connected to our program, they don't get connected through the coaching staff first. They get connected through the players, and that's how Manny got connected with the team. He got close with Skylar Varga and some other guys in the team, and Bloom, and you could see the passion he had for the university and definitely for our program, but even at another level for these guys that he got really close with in the dorms. And he came in and wanted to help and put his heart and soul into it. So yeah, you lose good people, whether they're staff members, whether they're extended staff, or you lose players. Those are big misses. So who fills that void? My history is someone will, because someone always has, but they won't do it the exact same as Manny did it. Manny did it in his own unique way, and we'll miss Manny.
Talking about the culture of the team and just the fans and people that come into the arena, outside of the talent and the skill and the preparation that goes into coaching, talk about what it's like for teams coming into the Pyramid, what kind of home court advantage you guys have. To tie it into last year, one of my favorite games that I've ever been to, any sporting event, was when you guys down 0-2 to GCU in the semifinal to the national championship game. Yeah. Just the crowd that game, it was electric. It was one of my favorite games I've ever been to. Talk about the Walter Pyramid and the fans.
Yeah, it's a very, very special place. Not only because of its obvious uniqueness, but it creates an incredible home court advantage just with the height of it, the depth perception, the awkward lighting in the four corners, the fact that it's a fairly large venue, but when the seats come down, the crowd gets right on top of you, so it doesn't have that big spacious, normal basketball arena type feel. The having the Terraflex floor down to make it look like a volleyball only venue instead of a wood court, basketball court with some volleyball lines, like we're borrowing the basketball gym to play a game. That makes it special. And then, of course, what makes the energy in the building go, besides obviously we need the players to be playing well and to be doing a good job, but is the special section that we have of our students, that whole wing of the pyramid behind the court. In many, many matches last year, but as you pointed out in our semifinal match against Grand Canyon, something special in a building when you feel the energy coming through you. You're trying to talk to the guys and you literally feel like you're at a concert where you're too close to the bass and it's kind of going through your body. That doesn't happen a lot in sports, right? To be able to generate that kind of excitement. So it's a very difficult place to play, which I love because it's our home court advantage, and we get to practice in there every day in the spring. I've heard over the many years I've been coaching now, it's one of the places most teams hate to play, and that makes it even more enjoyable to have that kind of a home court. But it's a special place, and you're also talking about someone who, I did my playing days. They had broke ground for the pyramid when I was playing, so here we play in the gold mine, which in a lot of ways there's a lot of special things that happen in the gold mine. There's a lot of special things that still happen in the gold mine because we practice there in the fall, but it is just a cookie cutter box like a lot of other maybe even high school or junior college gyms. We took a big step from becoming a gym athletic department to an arena athletic department when the pyramid happened. And I think if you look at that, you look at what happened with teams and recruiting and fan support and branding. It's been a big part of our success.
You mentioned Nick McCray already, but I also want to touch on McKay Smith and just having that duo around for 7 years.
Yeah.
What's kind of like that, having a young coaching staff that you would maybe expect to eventually want to take that next step, but you get to play that mentor role for them?
Absolutely. And they're both amazing. They both will be head coaches. It's just a matter of when, not if. At this point, I only hire Long Beach State, former players. I guess it's not a hard fact that we've had some non-Long Beach State, and it's not a rule that I wouldn't necessarily go after the best coach. I just like everything that a former player brings to our campus. They went to school here. They've went through the grind of being an athlete here. They understand the community, the culture. It's something when they put the logo on and go to work every day. It means something more than to a lot of people than just a job. So I think they're both really special in their own right. McKay was also a high school football player and very much a captain type leader. He's always been like that. He was the captain on the team when he played here. He does everything by example, how he lives his life, how hard he works, how hard he works in the weight room still, how he takes care of his nutrition. Just everything that he goes about, he's an example for our student athletes. And we're really, really fortunate to have Nick and McKay, and hopefully we'll have them for as long as we possibly can, because they've both had opportunities to move on, and I want what's best for them. I don't want them to stay if the next opportunity out there is better for their career, but I'm not going to lie, I love having them. As long as I can keep them, I'm going to keep them.
And we think of you as the veteran of the program, but I don't want to skip out on Andy Reid either. Yeah. Being around here for 25 years, filling in for you, just that sort of experience as well.
Yeah, Andy's a big part of what we've done. But a lot of people don't realize that he was my high school coach at Marina, and it was his very first year of being a high school varsity coach. Was my senior year, and we were close as player and coach, and we stayed in touch through the years that I went off to play in college, and he was actually coaching in college at that time. And when I came back to coaching, and I was the assistant coach here, Andy had just left UC Irvine as the head coach and was going to go back full-time, was going to stay full-time teaching at the high school level, but wanted to stay involved in college. And we were perfect because he was teaching at Westminster High School. and we're right down the road, and we had a need. I didn't think back then when we did it in whatever that was, 97, the 97, I think, year, that, you know, he would have been every season, he would be on the bench with us since then. Because what people don't realize, he's done all those years, with the exception of when I left for the 4 years to coach the Olympic team and he stepped in, he's done all the other years as a volunteer. Mm-hmm. So he's got a huge breadth of knowledge of the game, and his commitment to the program has been immense.
Talking about the overall staff of the volleyball program here at Long Beach State, what was it, and you specifically bringing up like only hiring former Long Beach State, what was it like having someone across the hallway really with Coach Tyler Hildebrand? How was that relationship and dynamic, seeing someone that you coach and then having their own mark on the program on the women's side?
Oh, yeah, I'm incredibly proud of Tyler. You know, you could tell from Tyler's playing days here, he was not your typical volleyball player in the sense that he always had a different outlook on things, a very fresh take on things. He was very much a coach on the court when he played, great communication. And as he continued his playing career post Long Beach, he was always dabbling in some coaching. He was volunteering at Long Beach. He was coaching club. He was helping on all sorts of stuff. Was coaching with the beach. Actually, was in charge of all the USA beach teams, helping in the national team gym. So you could see this growing, and I think Tyler has a very curious mind as a coach, in the sense of, like, why do we do what we do is like where he starts everything. As a coach, it's what's made him really special. In other words, we don't have to do it like this because someone else used to do it like this, or it's always been done like this. Mm-hmm. There's other ways. We can blend sports. We can factor in biomechanics. We can factor in all sorts of different things. The best way to do it. And we can put in the time and effort to learn how to train it. Just because other people aren't doing doesn't mean it's not wrong. Doesn't mean it's wrong. And I think that curious, willing to work, and having a lot of confidence in himself, he's easily one of the best coaches in volleyball today, and he's been proving that for years. And it's unfortunate he's not here anymore as our women's coach, but I think that the situation he's in right now, I view it as he's just in a holding pattern until the next big women's job opens up that he actually wants to take his family to.
You mentioned before recording that you happen to be in Cyprus doing recruiting. I just want to talk about some of those recruiting processes. What's that like? Has there ever been any that are more stressful than others? Bringing in Alex Nikolov, per se.
Yeah, I don't know how stressful those are. I think that I think recruiting was significantly more stressful in the first maybe 5 years of my coaching, because I think you're in such a hurry to put a stamp on the fact that, you know, they made the right choice hiring you as the head coach. You can do this. We can win. We can get to the national championship game. That you feel like every recruit that you get is huge, and everyone you don't get might have cost you that opportunity. I think as the years go on, you start to realize that there's opportunities in everything, good and bad, when it comes to recruiting. But I think that you start to realize that it's not the end of the world if you don't lose a kid, because the way we run our program, not every kid's going to succeed here. You have to be a special mindset. You have to have a special mindset in the sense of how much you're willing to put into volleyball, how much you're willing to put into the culture that makes up men's volleyball here at Long Beach State. So I've gotten more and more to the point that, you know, if it doesn't feel right one way or the other, that doesn't faze me now. It's just not meant to be. There's someone else out there who's going to fit better. So you know, the other part of recruiting is that obviously we've put our toe deep into the pool of the international athlete, and that's a really special thing, because they come from a different background of how they were brought up playing volleyball. They didn't play, you know, Friday Night Lights and AWSO and Little League Baseball and all these different things. Most of these kids started to play volleyball from a very young age, and it was their passion. And maybe their parents played, maybe, you know, it was big in the area. But when you get these kids, they're coming in and they're literally thousands of hours ahead of their counterpart here from the States. And their goal is to come here, get their degree, get better as a volleyball player, and they know exactly what they want to do after that. They want to go play pro. Whereas a lot of kids that we get here, they're not even that aware of really what's out there next. They kind of get opened up to that when they're here, of what could happen. So it's a unique blend, because I certainly don't want to turn into a program that we don't have a lot of, local kids, California kids, U.S. kids, but at the same time, in our blend right now is really special.
With that local blend, I know the current blend's moving more towards international, but we have our own backyard, right? You went to Marina, Aiden went to Huntington.
That's right.
A couple years back, Huntington had the 113 win streak.
Yep.
You had TJ DeFalco there, Shane Holdaway, Josh
Yep.
Tuaniga. Just, what's it kind of like? Does it ever feel like there's too much wealth of local volleyball talent?
No. No, and I just think that, where we're strategically located, and Long Beach State as this as a campus, it puts us in a really good situation, where the Pyramid's located right off the 405 and right kind of in between that Santa Barbara, San Diego field. There's a lot of talent in that corridor, and we're close enough for a lot of those parents to get to watch games, and our games are streamed on ESPN Plus, and there's a lot of media attention to it. So there's a lot of good that's going on here. Plus the campus is thriving, and it's a great place to go, academically. And a lot of our guys are getting their undergrad and their masters while they're here. So there's a lot of great things happening. But we do need to stay true to the identity of who we've always been, and that is we've done this over the 50 plus years of men's volleyball on the backs of lots of local kids. JC transfer kids was huge for the first 25, 30 years of the program. And we still have some today, and we'll always have that. We don't want to get away from that. But I think it's okay to have a blend of all of it.
You've mentioned that influx of just talent from overseas. You've had your own experience overseas. You've accomplished almost everything volleyball has to offer. Do you still want to chase Olympic gold, or is that ship kind of sailed?
Wow.
12 years removed, so it's been a while.
Yeah, I'm not one to really plot out that I have to get, this job or that job, whatever. I guess the best way to say it, I say this all the time at coaching clinics, and I'm the worst coach in volleyball to compare how to get the right job for you in the future. Like, use me as an example. I've been fortunate enough to have some incredibly great gigs, and I haven't really technically applied for any of them. So like my route of how I went there, or I didn't set up a perfect plan to become this guy's assistant coach, to get on this bench, or to get in this conference. I've done none of that, and I've ended up kind of winning at the game of volleyball and winning at the volleyball life game. But when the national team job came along, and it was just for years, for 12, 16 years, they were training in Colorado Springs, and all of a sudden they're in Anaheim. And because to be perfectly honest, I would not have taken that job had it been in Colorado Springs, because I wasn't going to move my family at the age my kids were at that time, and I just wouldn't have done it. So the fact that they were in Anaheim was unbelievable. And when the job was offered to me, it gave me an opportunity to do something that I think every coach would love to do, and that is represent your country at the Olympic Games. So it's very, very special. Would I entertain doing that again? I've always said, of course. It's one of the greatest gigs ever. But there's so many things that have to align in making the decision to commit to something that big. To commit to you're not committing to a job that's, well, we'll see what it's like for the next 4 months. You're committed to the next 4 years of your life, and it's a big commitment, right? The U.S. expects some pretty great things at the Olympic Games, which is amazing, and it's awesome to be part of. But do I have a plan to get back in, the next quad or get on the bench? No, I don't have a plan right now to do that, but it's such a special job that there's no way you would ever want to shut the door to listening to opportunities.
And then speaking on that overseas career, you played in Italy and Belgium. Just what was that sort of like? I mean, you talk about bringing in international players and them having an unfamiliarity. Here, you were once in that same spot.
Yeah, my spot was wonderful, but yet incredibly challenging. I try to explain this to a lot of our guys that go overseas now, of look, it's going to be okay, even if it's a little bit of a struggle, or it's different, or the culture's different, the language different, the food's different, the time zones are different, whatever it might be, right? You're connected anytime you want with home, friends, family, girlfriends, parents, whatever, teammates. For the first month I was in Italy, and I was at my current wife. My current wife. That doesn't sound very good. She's not going to like that part. My wife.
We can cut that out if you.
My wife was finishing up her student teaching, so she wasn't able to go over, and she was my fiance at the time, but she wasn't able to go over. So I spent a lot of time on the phone with her, but the phone wasn't installed in our apartment at the time, so I had to walk down to the phone booth and buy a phone card and call her. So I give that example to guys all the time. It's like it was a little different because you had to actually set up what time you're going to call, and you didn't have that instant connection to home. The TV, there wasn't great TV, so everything was in Italian, and it was a little bit of a struggle, and it was an adjustment for the first couple of weeks. But you look back now, and by and large, the whole thing was an amazing experience. You get to play volleyball at that time, the best league in the world against the best players in the world. You get this incredible culture that you're in Italy with the food and just the beauty of the country and the people, and get to do something that you've dreamt of since you were a kid. I didn't know when I was really young I was going to be a volleyball pro, but I definitely had dreams of doing anything anytime I was playing a sport. I had dreams I'd love to do this at the pro level. Mm-hmm. And so it was an incredible experience. Belgium was also an incredible experience. Back then for me, I was just completely taken back by what a cosmopolitan city it was, and I felt so inadequate when it came to just my ability to speak foreign language, because all the guys over there could speak like four, and I was struggling with directions, how to get to the gym, and they would joke with me about that. But the people were great, and the location of Brussels is in such a good spot to be able to get to other places in Europe too. So no, I look back really fondly of my time, and I'm really excited for all our guys that are currently over there doing that.
And then prior to your overseas career, you win the championship at Long Beach State, the first one for the men's team. You went back-to-back in 18 and 19. I'm going to ask you a bit of a hard question, but what's kind of your favorite moment from each of those years, or is there one that specifically stands out to you as kind of your favorite?
Well, easily for the 1991 as a player, we had lost in the finals in 1990. Mm-hmm. To USC, and we beat USC in the finals in 1991. So definitely revenge was on our minds. But I'm really, really close with all the guys on that team, even today. Most of the guys that were in that group were at most of the Final Fours that we played in recently. They were all there in 18 and 19. So they've stayed really tight to the program, which I'm really, really proud of. But I think as a group, I just think that the special part of that team was winning the first national championship in the school history on the men's side. I think that, you're the first to do anything is always fun. So that one was special. When it comes to the 18 national championship, it had just been a while. We had been close, and we hadn't got over the hump. And then we have this special team in the Big West. The Big West had just added men's volleyball. It was the first year of men's volleyball, the Big West Conference. We got to host the conference tournament. We win the conference tournament at the Pyramid, and then go on to win the national championship against UCLA at UCLA. I think how special that moment was, right? Everything lining up. And then in 19, it was, as soon as the ball dropped in 18, it was about repeat. Every question I got, can you repeat? Because we had so many guys coming back. And without a doubt, we thought we could, but it's a lot easier to talk about it here than it was to go through it, because in 18, pretty much everything went our way in the sense of staying healthy, the right guys staying healthy. And in 19, almost nothing went our way, like consistently when it came to our own individual health. Guys played through things, guys played sick, guys played with knee pain, guys played with fevers, you name it, they gutted it out. And it was just a different way. And then you had the weight on your back of two things, that is to repeat, but also it was at the Pyramid. Mm-hmm. So you had all of that going on, but it was special. So I think the 18 one was the culmination of a couple of misses the couple of years before, and that group getting over the hump and breaking that, getting that monkey off our back a little bit. And then 19, without a doubt, winning a national championship in the Pyramid in front of our fan base and on our campus, in our community, was what made that one so special.
And before we can even get there, I want to take you back to 2015. You finished 7th, going 15-13. Immediately after, you guys rattle off 4 straight 25-win seasons, back-to-back semifinals, and then those back-to-back championships. What do you kind of account that quick turnaround to?
Yeah, I think you have to go back further than that. I think you have to go back to when I got back from the Olympics after the collegiate 12 season. My first season back was 13. We went straight to the conference finals in that first year back. And we lost to BYU at BYU to go to the Final Four. So we got back really quick. But we had also on that team the both Crab brothers, that are playing on the beach right now, dominating. And McKay Smith was on that team, Dalton Ammerman, Connor Albright, a lot of really good players. And why I say that is that team got good really fast, and there we were right back in the mix. But as we were looking for our recruits, my first recruiting class when I came back, really, the game had shifted. The recruiting landscape had shifted to, instead of signing guys that were going into their senior year, the guys that were getting commitments from juniors. So as I'm looking at our recruits and guys that we want to recruit, the guys that we want are gone in both classes. So the decision that we made was that we were not going to simply just take a whole bunch of money and go after the next best group that's in there, that we were going to wait for the June 15th date that the NCAA allows you to talk to when sophomores become going into their junior year, and we're going to go after that class. And even if that meant we got real thin for a year, we're going to go after that class. Well, that class ended up being DeFalco, Tuaniga, Kyle Insing, all 3 of them national team players, 2 of them Olympians. And so that 15 season, we had lost Taylor and Trevor Crabb and all those guys here, and yet TJ and Josh and Kyle, that group hadn't got here yet. And we were going to roll with it anyway. So I think that I'm so proud of that 15 team, because we had guys playing out of position. We didn't have a lot of depth. And I think people, even on our own campus, were really scared we might not even make the playoffs this year, even though everyone knew what our plan was. And then we ended up 7th, which was a good deal for us. We had a good season. We had some big upsets. We played well in the playoffs, and then we ultimately didn't get to the Final Four, and that's okay. But that set up all the success. So why did it take off in 16, 17, and from there, was because that plan went into effect.
Gonna go off course a little here. We touched on it briefly before the show. Little Giants Dodgers talk.
Yeah.
What was the volleyball equivalent to what Shohei Ohtani did last night?
Wow.
In terms of,
I don't know if there is a volleyball equivalent to it. Any volleyball or Long Beach State volleyball? What are you talking about?
You can go any volleyball, just in the sense of 50-50, and then also just how he did it last night.
Yeah, it's really, really difficult to even put something on that.
Or if we want to shrink it to Long Beach State volleyball.
Well, I think if you shrink it to Long Beach State volleyball, you compare some there's like 3 things come to mind. One of them would be a player that I played with here named Brent Hilliard, whose jersey's hanging in the Pyramid, who is the all-time kills leader in NCAA volleyball, not Long Beach State, NCAA volleyball, which was incredible to do. And at the same time, if Tara Cross's name's up there, and she has the most kills in women's volleyball NCAA history. So having those 2 up there is pretty special. So comparing what Brent was able to do as a player, if you look in our record books and you look at times that he had, we have these in the record books, you have like people who've had 20 kills and then 20 more kills, 30 kills, 30 and more kills, 40, 50, and he owns that whole page. Like everything is Brent Hilliard. That was pretty special. If you look at what TJ DeFalco did here, with his group. He was a 4-time first-team All-American, a 2-time NCAA Player of the Year, 4 Final Fours, and 2 national championships. I think you can throw him into the blender of this conversation. I think what Alex Nikolov did as a freshman in his 1 year here as the only player in NCAA history to be the Freshman of the Year and the MVP of the NCAA in the same year. It's never been repeated at any other school. That makes it pretty special. Once you get outside of some of those ones, and I think those ones are pale in comparison to what Shohei did last night. It's pretty special what we're seeing right now. We're witnessing, some of the greatest achievements in baseball history.
Does it ever set in for you just all the accolades you can rattle off for not only yourself as a coach, but your players, your teams, just everything, just reminiscing on, 22 years.
Yeah, not really. I don't know, maybe it will settle in later on in my career or maybe when I'm done, but I just think that I go about it that I have the best job in volleyball. I grew up in Huntington Beach. I get to drive PCH to work to go coach my alma mater. As my dad, who was a coach in soccer for many, many years, would say to me when I would complain about anything, because he had a real job, not like me. He was a hard-working machinist. He went to work. And he would jokingly say to me sometimes, anytime I complained about something, like you should just stop whining. You go to work in your pajamas every day, and you get to do something you love. And I'll never forget that because it's true. We all get caught up in things and frustrated at things, and you want more and different things. But I try to live in a world that I have the greatest job I could possibly have in my sport. And I get to do it with the support of former players and the community, and that it's not foreign to me. I didn't have to sell myself out and go to the rival school or the other coast or whatever. I get to do it where it's very comfortable and it's authentic, something I love. So by doing that, the reason why I bring that up is I try to stay really, really present in what's going on right now and not get too nostalgic about the things that have happened and stay in the past. There'll be a time that I can think about that stuff as much as I want, but I just think being too nostalgic about it, being too sentimental about it or reminiscent about it will just get in the way of us having more of it. So there'll come a time, I think, that it'll sink in. But right now, I just feel incredibly fortunate and grateful.
And then I want to touch on the alma mater thing one more time, but not only your alma mater, but both sons, right? Yeah. Evan was here as well. Yeah. You would see him being rowdy in the crowd all the time, cheering on the team, but also as a part of the Dirtbags. Recruited the team, didn't play, but being there, just what was that sort of like? And now that nest being kind of empty.
Yeah, Long Beach is a very special place to us. It's look, the whole time I've worked here, and even as played here, you could feel something different about the athletic department in a sense of family. That's why coaches, Andy Scythe and Mike Weathers, and Brian Gimolaro, Kim Souter, all the coaches that have been here, Mauricio and Gavin. Why do they come and not leave? Because it's, for the most part, by and large, when you're in this setting, it's not because you're getting paid like Nick Saban. It's because there's a lot of other things that are going on. You love the people you work with. You love the community. Your family's part of a bigger family. So for me, it's always been about that. And so with my wife graduating here and myself graduating here and both of our boys going here, I don't know. It was something I never dreamt that it would all line up like that, right? So, but they've loved it. They've loved their time here. And what was special for my wife and I is that our boys actually lived together here, off campus. And besides the volleyball, the baseball side of that, what you want out of this, they're growing together closer. And then watching Evan's passion, for not only his brother to succeed, but he got so close with all the volleyball guys, and he was really having the time of his life. And so, yeah, it's a special deal. We're Long Beach State through and through as a family. I was super, super proud to be a player here, really proud to be a coach here, and really proud to say we have a legacy family here.
heading into year 22, what's the mindset thinking about this year? I know you're kind of a go with the flow guy. You don't have too much of a kind of plan where you want to head, but how many more years do you see yourself?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I don't know about that one. That question is, I owe it to our team and our campus and our fans and the community at large to coach as long as that I can coach with 100% that I can put into it. And if I come in and I'm excited about practice and I'm excited about the fall training and taking this group and seeing where they can go come the end of the season, then I want to continue to do it. And when I can't do that, which I know that day will come, then I want Nick to do it, or whoever that coach would be, because this program deserves that kind of passion. And but right now, coming into the gym, I'm rejuvenated by this year. It's completely new. Got a lot of new faces. Got a lot of talent coming back. Got a lot of talent coming in. Where can we go? What are the expectations that other people have, and all that? That's great for PR, the media, and all the different things that will go on. But for us, it's simple. The goal is, how good can we get by May? And working backwards from May, how can we then break that down into small chunks that getting 1 or 2% better every week, and really get them to buy in to the growth mindset of they always have to find a way to get better. How can we take all these new pieces and add them into a culture that's incredibly positive, incredibly nurturing for one another, and like no other in our sport? And how can we build on it? And then the last one would be, how can we not get caught up in who we're not, meaning we're the 25 version of Long Beach State men's volleyball. We're not the 24, the 19, the 91, whatever it might be. We're the 25. How can we use the knowledge, the lessons learned, but how can we take a fresh approach to it and not get caught up with the ghosts of the past either?
And then to close, 75th year anniversary of the school, 30th year anniversary of the pyramid. We mentioned a lot of special moments. Yep. What's the most special moment to you?
Well, I think that I'll give you 3 really quick ones. One, the first opportunity I had to coach in the building as a head coach is a personal one. And that would rank way down behind some of the team ones. But as a personal one, that was always fun to be the first night I got to do that. I think winning the Big West tournament, the first one ever that happened in 18 here, was special. I think the comeback win against Grand Canyon in our own court was special to put us in the national championship game and show the grit that team showed. I think the 19 team winning the national championship on our campus will always go down, in my opinion, one of the great Long Beach community, not just Long Beach State, sports moments in our city's history. And I say that not to be, over the top, gracious to our team. It's just that we're fortunate to the arena that we have in the pyramid is big enough to host a men's volleyball Final Four, and most of our sports have to win on a neutral site, but we could do it on our campus. So we're fortunate for that. And then the one that's not Long Beach State related that happened in the pyramid was in 2012 when we qualified for the Olympics in London. The Olympic qualification tournament was in the pyramid. So we beat Cuba in the semis and Canada in the gold medal match to punch our ticket to the Olympics.
Thank you so much for joining us for Season 4, Episode 5 of Teed Up. Thank you to our video editor and producer, Aiden Swanepoel, and our multimedia producer, Elle Nicklin. If you want to stay up to date on the latest in Long Beach State sports, check out our website, lbcurrent.com, and follow us on socials at lbcurrent. Thanks so much for listening. See you later. Thank you for being here.
Yes, guys, appreciate it.